When I was making my seasonal anime review, I would watch every single new anime that was available, and from my initial viewing of Ousama Ranking, I was quick to dismiss it, but after giving it another try, I realized that I was so wrong about Ousama Ranking, and it's so much more than just a typical coming-of-age story. It's a show that may seem ridiculous at times, but in reality, it is one of the most emotional and innovative new animes that fall 2021 has to offer. The story basically starts in this fairy tale-like fantasy world where the power of a kingdom is measured by how powerful their king is, and it is known as the ranking of kings. And because the number one ranking king would be able to receive a special gift from the vault of the god, every king in the world is constantly trying to grow their own power and the strength of their own kingdom so they will become number one. And at the center of this premise, you follow Prince Boji, the son of King Boss, who is currently ranked 7 in the ranking of kings. Seeing how powerful his father used to be, he too dreams of becoming one of the greatest kings that ever lived, and he was all set to be next in line for the throne because of his dying father. However, Boji was born handicapped in that he can't speak or hear, and add to the fact that he has a very weak constitution. Many people in the kingdom do not see him as a worthy successor to the throne. Instead, people rather support his younger and more talented brother Daida as the right person to take the throne. Now, on paper, this seems like a very typical young boy dreams of becoming the world's greatest blank that has to face hardships to reach his goals, but it's so much more than that. Right from the start, the show wants you to assume that Boji loses in every aspect and is considered to be an underdog because of his disabilities and he is destined to fail, but it's actually the opposite of that. He's in fact a very strong individual, it's just that he isn't given the chance to showcase his true potential. The show doesn't use his disabilities to make you feel pity for him, instead it's to show how he uses it to overcome his weaknesses and to expose the weaknesses of others around him. Like you see Boji is constantly ridiculed and humiliated by everyone around him, but you never see him be depressed or dejected about it. Instead, he always puts on a smile and perseveres through the hardships, at least until he couldn't anymore. This scene here is honestly what broke and sold me about Ousama Ranking. Despite Boji always trying his hardest, life and people always finds a way to kick him down. It's really heartbreaking and at the same time inspiring to watch. Boji isn't perfect, he isn't an infallible protagonist that just trains and comes back a Giga Chad. He's just a kid that has to put up with an insane amount of shit and discrimination just because he's handicapped. And this is honestly what separates Japanese anime and Western shows. They don't make the disabilities a character trait, they use it as something that helps motivate Boji to become better and overcome his weaknesses. It's something that makes his character feel human and like a human being no matter how strong you are mentally. There's always a breaking point, and luckily for Boji, he has his new friend Kage there to support him. And Kage himself is a very interesting and flawed character. He's a mysterious black creature that started off by taking advantage of Boji's disabilities and naive personality to rob him. But after Kage realized that Boji was just willing to let him take advantage of him because he was the only person that could understand and talk to him, Kage felt pity for Boji, so he followed him back to the palace only to see how much ridicule he went through every time Kage took his clothes. Because Kage himself had a very tragic past where he lost his entire clan to a military purge, he understood what Boji has to go through and saw a reflection of himself inside of Boji. He knew that he had to help Boji, so he promised to always stay with him and follow him on his quest to become the world's greatest king. With Boji and Kage, you get a feeling that there's a real emotional depth and dramatic resonance between the both of them, and it's clear that each of them brings something of great value to the other. Like Boji needs Kage to push him forward and to feel understood, while Kage needs Boji to find his own purpose in life. But from Boji and Kage's relationship, you can really get the idea that things aren't always what you think. And that is definitely one of the most important aspects about Ousama Ranking, especially when it comes to the side characters. There are never really any clear distinctions between black and white, there are only the various shades of grey. Like Queen Healing at the start seems like the stereotypical evil stepmother caricature from fairy tales, but as you see more of a character, you realize that she truly cares and loves Boji, while on the opposite end of the spectrum we have Boji's swordmaster Domas, who seemed like the only person that cares for Boji at the start, but in reality he's just a backstabbing and untrustworthy person. None of the characters are ever written to be one-sided good or evil. There are always multiple layers to their personality, their actions, and the moral struggle they have to endure as a participant of society. This is definitely what impressed me the most about Ousama Ranking, the writing of the characters, making them not feel like one-dimensional and more like realistic human characters. However, it's not just the brilliant characters, the story writing is also done extremely well, giving you crazy plot twists, betrayals, deceptions, wholesome and emotional moments to keep you invested in everything that's happening on screen. The fact that they managed to have a deaf and mute kid as a main character convey more emotions than most other anime characters definitely says a lot about the quality of this anime. Of course, it will get repetitive quick if you have to guess what Boji is trying to convey every time, so Kage was obviously added in to provide context when needed. But aside from that, Ousama Ranking certainly does behave like a typical fairy tale story, but like most classic fairy tales, unlike those Disney ones, they are often dark and disturbing with multiple layers of hidden depth behind the story, and the show definitely has plenty of those. Now, at first glance, you might not expect that Ousama Ranking was animated by Studio Wit. I mean, I was shocked too when I first saw it. The art style looks very simplistic and obviously has a somewhat Ghibli-esque feel to everything, but despite looking very simple, the animation can be very fluid when it needs to be, and thanks to that, you can really feel the contrast between the art and the darker storyline that the show is trying to portray. It's definitely a smart way to highlight certain stuff that happens in the story, like if they stuck with the typical rigid or realistic kind of art that you would find in Attack on Titan or even Villain Saga. You probably already expect some level of gore and violence, but when you pair the story with an art style like Ousama Ranking, whenever there are any intense scenes happening on the screen, you are definitely able to get a more vivid and impactful experience from it. Anyways, Ousama Ranking may just be a story about a boy trying to become the greatest king in the world despite all the challenges he has to face, but it often deviates from that while still giving you numerous interesting concepts and ideas to enjoy. The show definitely isn't bound by Boji's disabilities, but it simply incorporates and uses it to enhance the quality of the show. So don't be like me and judge the anime too quickly because of the art style. I recommend that you give the first few episodes a try and decide yourself whether it's good or not. But for me, this is definitely the most underrated show of fall 2021. And it really is too bad that it's flying under the radar for most people because of the poorly planned release schedule. If it was released in the lesser stacked season, it would have easily become anime of the season.
ほら、動いたでしょ?
So yeah, hopefully you will give Ousama Ranking a chance because it really is, in my opinion, one of the most underappreciated animes of fall 2021, and I would love to hear your thoughts about the show after you checked it out. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, subscribing to the channel and hitting that notification bell for more anime content in the future. As always, thanks for watching and stay safe everyone.